What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Chromecast. Today, we have an interview episode with Andy Russell, who is a group product manager for education and family at Chrome OS. We had a really fun conversation about Screencast, a feature and tool that we're really excited about, that we've already made a video about. You should go check that out. We also talked about cast moderation, and we talked about Figma for education. So without any further ado, here is my conversation with Andy. Today's episode of the Chromecast is brought to you by Visor. Do you manage your school district's Chromebooks? If you were tasked with getting hundreds or thousands of Chromebooks ready for students this summer, you'll want to listen to this. Visor is a Chromebook and IT asset management software solution designed specifically for school districts. Visor seamlessly integrates with the Google Admin Console and your student information system, including PowerSchool. With Visor, you can easily see which student has which Chromebook, manage repairs, and even automate disabling lost or stolen devices while notifying parents, all in one click. To see how Visor can help your school better manage Chromebooks, go to visor.cloud/unboxed. That's VIZOR.cloud/unboxed, or just click the link in the show notes. All right, Andy, thanks so much for joining us on another episode of the Chromecast. So great to have you. We were sitting here getting caught up before we started recording, and we just started already getting into good conversation. So I was like, so slow down, let's save it. Let's save it for this, because we were talking about a little bit about kind of, you know, where Chrome Unboxed came from, and some of our kind of inspiration for this whole project, and how we love digging and finding, and Screencast was one that we were really excited about and had been digging around, and that's just the way we're wired. Yeah, I was telling you, we are all just we say we're contrarians. We love just finding unique stuff and different ways of doing things, and Chrome OS has always lended itself well to that, and part of that is just kind of digging in and finding new features and this stuff, and the update cycle obviously lends itself well to that too. So, but we were talking a little bit about like Screencast and kind of what it was born from. So kind of continue the conversation there. We'll just pick up right where we left off.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. I'm an avid reader of Chrome Unboxed myself, and it's been a lot of fun passing the early development articles for the Screencast app amongst the team. We've been blown away by your ingenuity and detective work as we built this app, largely in the public.
Yeah. It's the interesting thing about the way a lot of things in Chrome OS end up happening is because there are so many things that we can dig up in the back end and find things. So yeah, hopefully we didn't spill the beans too much on everything, but we love finding that stuff and love sharing it with our readers, and our readers, it gets them, the hype of it gets things going, gets everybody excited about new features and new products. And we were excited to see, with this recent announcement, this kind of education focused announcement with the Anywhere School event and everything, and seeing Screencast in there was awesome. So yeah, great work to your team, and hopefully, like I said, we didn't spill the beans too much on everything. So
we build in the open source, my friend. So the origins of our Screencast app. When I was in school, maybe when we were in school, our teachers used overhead projectors to teach a lot of things. I have very vivid memories of like my trigonometry teacher, putting the overlays on the overhead projector and working out the proofs and things like that.
Yep. Wiping it off, starting again. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And with Screencast, we wanted to build a tool that would enable any teacher and any student to basically turn their convertible Chromebook into a wireless whiteboard, right, a remote control for the classroom, and to be able to, in real time, record their work and annotate their work, and sketch up quick diagrams or highlight content on the web. And then send it home with students to be able to watch later, or in the student's case, to be able to share a recording with their classroom very extemporaneously, very naturally. Video creation is a critical part of, our world around us, but especially the classroom these days. And this is the TikTok generation, right? This is the generation of students that want to spend a little bit more time in production and a little less time in post. They love being able to create and record content on the fly. They expect to be able to do that, and we wanted to build a tool that was sort of custom tailored to easy content creation.
Yeah, it is amazing, when you think about even just some of the basic editing tools in text, editing that you can do, and overlays that you can do in some of these apps that for me early in my career trying to figure out, I first started with Adobe Premiere and editing and that, and back then it was so antiquated and so hard to do something like text tracking or something that now you can do in these apps, and you just drag it on there and pin it and it works. So this generation, like you said, is really attuned to that and accustomed to that and expect that almost. When we were first digging into some of what was then called Projector, which now the name makes sense, but when we were first digging into it, we weren't sure exactly what the use case was going to be. We weren't sure exactly where what the goal was going to be. But I love this idea. I love this idea of creating that digital version of something that is still a very useful thing in the classroom, right? To be able to sit there and share work and show it. And then some of the other features in there, I guess what I don't know if it'd be called annotations, but the timeline that it creates to where you can skip through and find things. We're just sitting and thinking of all of these use cases as we're digging into this. We're like, oh my gosh, you could do this. Think about the one tech thing that you have to tell your parents every time you go over there, and you're like, this is how you do it, and here and now you could just do a screencast with this tool. Mark it, show exactly where they need to click, and then, oh, by the way, it creates a nice little timeline down the side that you can click through. So it's such a robust tool, and yeah, I can see so many use cases for it, and just great work. I mean, it's just an awesome tool. When you all were first building it, and we were tracking it as Projector, was there any evolution of this tool, or was it always from the beginning kind of meant to be that replacement for that use case, like we said, the projector that's in the classroom that is the board, or the gosh, what am I thinking of, the dry erase pens, and that sort of thing. Was that the goal kind of from the get-go?
Well, I think the best products are those that are designed for a very specific use case and a very focused use case, but are flexible enough that they can be used in ways that you might not anticipate.
Yeah.
And that's what we're hoping for here with Screencast. So the very specific use case that we're designing for is teachers and students in the classroom. There were essentially 3 trends that we saw through remote learning that we thought were pretty likely to carry over as we returned back to the classroom. First was just the rise in video usage. A whole lot of students watching a lot of video in the classroom and watching a lot of video at home as a way to supplement in-class instruction and digital textbooks and things like that. The second was that teachers, over the course of remote learning, they stopped using computers for prep work, for creating worksheets and sending them to the printer and grading reports and things like that. And they started using computers as teaching surfaces, right? Their computer and their screen became the way that they would teach. And as a result, initially on Zoom and on Google Meet and other products, they started just doing in-person stuff, and then they started using a lot of digital tools, and then ultimately we saw a lot of educators just using the web as a amazing, completely underutilized teaching resource and digital content. And then the third big trend that we saw was schools going to one-to-one, is what we call it, one device for one student. Yep. Which enabled students to stop sharing Chromebooks and to have their own dedicated device. And instead of having to put that Chromebook into a cart in the classroom at the end of the class, they would put it in their backpack and they would take it home. And so now all of a sudden we have unprecedented access to Chromebooks anywhere in school, during study hall, during recess, in any class period, but also at home when the kid goes to do a homework. And students spend on average about an hour a night on homework. So we thought to ourselves, wouldn't it be great for all of these teachers who are increasingly teaching off of their Chromebooks, right, and using their Chromebooks as a digital surface for the classroom to teach from, wouldn't it be great if they could record content as they did it? And wouldn't it be great if they could annotate their instruction on screen in real time? And wouldn't it be great if at the end of class they could just hit the stop button and then copy the link and share it to students via Classroom or a doc or email, whatever it is, and the student could have access and re-watch that content at home when they're doing their homework, or maybe a month later when they're studying for a test to recap what happened in class earlier. And wouldn't it be amazing if you didn't have to watch the full 30-minute classroom lecture or instruction, and you could just skim the text and jump straight to that point in the video? Or you could search and type in nucleus and jump straight to the 5 points in the teacher's instruction where they talk about the nucleus. And even better, holy cow, wouldn't it be amazing if students who maybe their teacher's language isn't their first language, they could translate it into their preferred language? And as a creator, this was like the really aha, holy cow, I can't believe we can do this. What if we could enable teachers to actually trim their content down using text instead of having to upload it to a video editor, splice it, re-render it, and then re-upload it to share with students? So that transcript feature, the timeline as you referred to it,
transcript. That's the word I was looking for. I couldn't get there. Yeah, transcript. Thank you.
That's the magic sauce for the app.
Yeah, and trimming just with the words is incredible. Oh my gosh, I don't even like the back end of as a video editor, as someone who loves video editing, and is fairly knowledgeable about how these things work. The fact that you all have figured out how to do that is amazing to me. And then like the thing I think about as you're going through all of this is just like, if you're going to be creating this content, like especially as educators are having more and more on their plate and having to manage more and more technology, if they're doing something repetitively, or if they're doing the same kind of lesson, like why not be able to record it? Why not be able to use that as a tool? And now they get to really get to the thing they're best at, the actual full one-on-one teaching with students and this sort of thing, and kind of removing these barriers. Like, let's use technology to enhance the classroom rather than have it be this thing that teachers have to fool with and stuff. And I think obviously that's changing now as more and more teachers are having to use Chromebooks and figuring out Chromebooks and seeing how awesome of a tool they are. But it's still that let's remove the barriers and have tools like this that are, hey, if I'm going to do this presentation, let's make that presentation now as useful and as beneficial to students as possible, and also let's save the teacher some time.
Yeah.
So they can then focus on educating and teaching, doing what they do best.
100%.
Such a cool tool.
Everything that we build is basically boils down to a homework helper or a teacher tool. And as a teacher tool, our goal is to save teachers as much time as possible so that they can focus all of their energy and their time on in-person instruction and coaching and facilitating learning in the classroom. So take as much of the sort of rote and repetitive work out of their day so that they can dedicate that time to prep, and they can dedicate that time to instruction and working directly with their students. And with Screencast, you nailed it. You hit it on the head. You can... If you talk to teachers, they'll often tell you that their first year in the classroom is really hard because they're doing everything from scratch, right? They're doing everything the first time. And the second year will get a little bit better. And the third year will get a little bit better as they build up resources and materials that they can reuse over and over again. But they've never been able to reuse their instruction. They could reuse a worksheet, they could reuse an exercise or a lesson plan, but they could never reuse instruction. And with Screencast, what we've done is we've given them a tool to record in real time as they teach so that they can send it with students to go home so the students can recap it and rewatch it on their own time. Sometimes it takes us 2 or 3 times to get through something, to really wrap our head around something. But the sneaky part here is it also gives them a recording that they can reuse the next year and the year after that. And so over time, the teachers will build a library of instructional content that's custom tailored to their students, custom tailored to their curriculum and their instruction, so that they can start to do things that they never were able to do before in year 2 and year 3 and year 4 because they have that extra time. And then here's the really cool thing, Joe. In this today, a teacher has to teach to the common denominator, right? They have to look at a classroom full of 20, 22, 24 kids and then figure out the way that they're going to present a concept that's going to work for most of the students in the room. And inevitably, they're going to leave some of the kids behind, or they're going to have to follow up directly with some of those kids and spend time one-on-one with that kid to make sure that they're following along. What a tool like Screencast enables you to do is to create different flavors of a concept, right? Teach something differently for different students. So students have different learning styles, right? Some students are very visual learners. Some students work really well with mnemonics. That was always my trick in the classroom, right? Order of operations. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, right? The Great Lakes, homes, right? I created mnemonics for everything, and when my teachers could do that for me, it was super, super helpful. So maybe you have 2 or 3 kids in the class who like me, work really, really well off of mnemonic memory tricks. Maybe you have kids that could see things visually. Maybe kids remember things through song. And as an educator with a tool like Screencast, you can create sort of 3 different versions of a lesson over time, over the years as you teach this. Put it in your library and then share it with the students who are going to absorb it the best.
Yeah. It's incredible. As you're talking through this, I'm thinking about whenever I was in school. Well, I remember my brother. He was in law school as I was going into college, into university, and he had his audio recorder, right, and he would sit and record lectures, and then have to sit back and listen to the lecture and kind of use that to kind of go back over his notes and make sure use that as a study tool. Whenever I was in school, at that time, smartphones were becoming more popular, so our audience is gonna get after me, but I had an iPhone. I actually had the very first iPhone, and had the iPhone and used that as my, I would record lectures with that and then go back and listen to it. But there was no transcription, there was no search in there. I had to just go back and listen to the whole thing. So it's like these tools that you all are creating are truly amazing, and really, as you said, are hopefully freeing up educators to focus on what they're best at and what they should be spending more time on, rather than some of these more tedious tasks. It's amazing. Let's talk a little bit about Cast Moderator. So what is Cast Moderator, and how is that different than Screencast, or is it the same thing? Just explain to listeners or viewers what that is.
2 different products, but very symbiotic. So Screencast is an application that's built into Chrome OS. Enables you to record your screen, record your narration, it transcribes it for you, and shares it up to Google Drive automatically. It's a great tool for building, as you said earlier, like software demos and instructional content in the classroom or in the boardroom, creating reports of your own if you're a student or anyone else that needs to record a presentation or something like that. But it's very much local on your screen. Right. Cast Moderator is sort of the sister application that we've built. It actually lives on Google TV. And it is a feature for casting on Google TV from a Chromebook, where you can connect directly to a Google TV device and share your screen as you are presenting it. And it's designed for classroom-like environments where you don't want anybody on the network to be able to connect directly to the screen. You only want the people who are in the room. So the way the Cast Moderator works is we show an access code on the screen. And the student or the teacher can type in the access code on their Chromebook, and it's going to connect directly from their Chromebook to the Google TV device and allow you to cast. And then we give a remote control to the educator so that they can stop a cast at any time, or back out of it, or disable casting for students if need be. So it's a wonderful new feature coming to Google TV for basically managed environments or office or classroom environments where you want to have a little bit more control over who's displaying what on what screen.
Yeah, rather than just opening up the floodgates. Yeah, I can imagine kids would try to have fun with that if anybody could just cast. Yeah, I can imagine a few of those have been played in classrooms when Cast was just wide open. Yeah. Okay, cool. So that makes sense. Yeah, I knew they were kind of sister programs. I remember Joanna wrote that up for us, and okay, that makes sense. So 2 amazing tools, 2 awesome products that are now widely available, or are these still restricted in any way?
So Screencast goes live in M103, which goes out to the public next week. It's available now on the beta channel if you want to switch over, but if you want to stay on stable, it'll be available to you next week for education users, for enterprise users, and for consumers, and basically anyone on a Chromebook. Moderator is, we have an early access program that we've launched with schools this summer, where we're going to be rolling it out widely to a whole bunch of classrooms around the country.
Yeah, and we've got that sign up form. We've got that link over on one of our articles, but we'll obviously include any of this stuff down in the show notes. So for anybody who's listening who's interested in this stuff can go
Bring
check
it
out. Yeah, exactly.
Come join us.
Yeah, I love it. Let's switch gears for just a moment. I do want to make sure that we chat about Figma, because we were kind of briefly discussing this before we went live here, and I was telling you that this is a program that I've used and messed around with for several years. In prior work at a marketing firm, doing a lot of digital creation and creating all sorts of content for clients, and even still with the work that we do, still there's certain things in different apps that we might need to click into to check out. So still familiar with Figma, but now with this recent announcement, like fill everybody in on kind of what has happened and where Figma is at now with education.
Yeah. So for those of you who might not be familiar with Figma, Figma is a web-based collaborative design tool. Enables you to create vector style infographics or illustrations, storyboards, presentation slides, anything you can draw, you can do it in Figma. And you can do it in Figma with friends. So you can invite your entire team to be working simultaneously. It's all browser-based. And so, really plays well with our sort of, I would say, lifeblood of Chrome OS, which is collaboration. And Figma has been around for a number of years. We are working with them now to sort of bring them to high school classrooms across the United States. Over the course of the last couple of months, we've run sort of a closed pilot with a number of high schools, and Figma is expanding that out to a public beta later this summer. You can apply through their website to be part of that program. We're really excited because this is going to put world-class design tools, collaborative design tools, into the hands of a whole lot of high schoolers on Chromebooks across the U.S. and beyond. And I think it's really going to increase access to design to a whole lot of students who otherwise might not have that access. And when I say design, I don't just mean visual design and traditional graphics tools. One of the things that I love most about Figma is that it allows you to prototype and build interactive designs as well. So it's not just flat art, but you can add buttons and you can link from one screen to another screen, and very easily, very quickly, you can build yourselves, app prototypes or website prototypes or anything along those lines.
Yeah.
And by doing this, we basically they're building a bridge from visual design to interactive design and ultimately into computer science and engineering. And I think they're lowering the floor for students who might be interested in game design or application development or website development, but aren't quite comfortable and aren't quite ready to jump into a computer science course. And by sort of introducing a little bit of interactivity on top of design, they're lowering the floor and raising the ceiling. Yeah,
and we were talking about this also a little bit before we started rolling, just about the fact that not everyone is necessarily going to have to be a developer or is going to have to be super proficient in coding, but being able to create an interesting presentation for a presentation you're doing at work, being able to create a cool birthday flyer or whatever, anything, or to be able, as you said, to be able to kind of take that first step towards maybe a dream of creating an app or whatever, or a website, and that's something that there's other sites out there that are doing similar stuff, but Figma, like you said, is kind of removing some of those barriers into that. I think there's a lot of people that are designing stuff and creating things that maybe wouldn't have before, and Figma is a great resource for that, especially if we can get this in the hands of high school students who are creating projects and stuff. And then, oh, by the way, now when they go into college, they now have a little bit more understanding about design.
Yep.
Because I think like I come from a kind of design background and creating visually interesting things, and I think design is all over us. Design is in, we're using an app right now called Riverside, and the way that this looks and the way that these buttons are laid out and all of these things matter, right? And if we can help people create better presentations, that's one less terrible like finance report that somebody has to sit through and look at some terrible PowerPoint that somebody tried to put together.
We're all creators as kids, right? And we're all designers as we go into the workforce as well. And whether you're designing a storyboard for a movie, whether you're designing a website or a paper handout, whether you're designing the cover page for a manuscript that you're writing, or a PowerPoint slide for the boardroom. We are all designers in one way or another, and putting these tools into the hands of students at a young age and getting them comfortable with design and getting them practiced and iterating, I think is a really important thing for all of us to be doing. And fun little tidbit here, we actually design Chrome OS in Figma on Chromebooks. That's something that maybe some of your viewers don't know, is we use Figma at Google, and much of Chrome OS is designed in it as well.
I don't know that I knew that.
Yeah.
I maybe the other guys did, but I don't know that I knew that. That is incredible, and it's the perfect tool for it, right? Because of that collaborative design that you can do. And hey, rather than me creating this prototype, sending it over to you in an email, and then you mark it up and send it back to me, like let's just hop into this same project in Figma and collaborate.
Yep.
I love it. You said the what sort of availability are we talking with Figma for education now? I know I had the email pulled, or I had the article pulled up somewhere, but you might know. Obviously this is a tool that's just kind of out there for consumers. Rolling this out, you said specifically high schools. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what sort of availability is this? Is this something that's already out there? If somebody's listening to this and they want to dive right in, can they just go on to Figma and find this?
Over the course of the summer, they're going to be rolling out to high schools across the U.S. There's a sign-up form, which we'll link to in the show notes, where you can contact them, and then they'll make licenses available to the Figma application to you at bulk or at scale.
Right.
And those licenses are all they're managed inside of Google Admin Console. So as a school administrator, one of the more challenging things about application provisioning and deployment is pushing applications out to thousands or tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands in some cases of students across many, many different devices. So one of the things that we're really excited about with this project is Figma is actually doing all of their application management through Google Admin Console. So school administrators who are managing their workspace applications and their Google accounts and their Chromebooks and Android devices all via Admin Console can now manage licenses to Figma as well.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, and I think with that sort of back-end admin stuff, making that deployment as easy as possible. These school districts who are trying to roll this stuff out, let's make it as easy as possible. And the more that you all and these developers can roll into the admin console, that's a win. That's a big win.
Yeah, it's the sort of like the not so secret to our success with Chrome OS, right? Is the ease of deployment and the ability to remotely control student devices and teachers' devices and push updates to them and push new applications to them, all from a single website without having to, get in your Geek Squad mobile and drive over to the school to get hands on a device and change settings. It brings a degree of scale that was unprecedented even 10 years ago.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's like obviously we're not super duper plugged in on the EDU side of things. We've been really excited though about having some of these conversations recently and chatting with folks like you and folks like Taryn Sullivan, who we had a chat with recently, because we see like all of these cool features that are getting built and these cool things that are getting into the classroom. And we recognize that, these are kids that are using Chromebooks, and this is how they're learning. And when they're, like I said, like when they're going into college, they're hopefully going to get a Chromebook. And when they go out and get their job, they're hopefully going to have a Chromebook for that. And it's this it's kind of this starting point of the consumers that do end up coming to us who are looking for that new Chromebook, that new device that's going to be the right Chromebook for them, and they've grown up with these EDU devices that are all they're great, they get the job done for what they want, but then they're like, oh wow, there's this new HP Elite Dragonfly Chromebook coming, and it can do all of these other things, and so we recognize that EDU is kind of like the starting point for so many people. It's the introduction into Chrome OS, for so many kids, and we just love that. And so great work. I mean, the work that your team's doing, and especially, I mean, I'm sure you can tell we've been geeking out over Screencast, and we're excited that that's out. So great work, and you all just keep up the good work. That was everything I wanted to hit on. If you've got anything else, by all means, you can throw it in here.
No, thanks for taking the time to talk it over and helping us to spread the word. There are some exciting launches for us, and really happy to let as many people know about them as possible.
Yeah, love it. And like I said, we'll try to link all of these things, because there's a couple of these kind of sign up beta programs that you all can go check out if you're interested in some of these. So Andy, thanks so much for taking some time to chat, and hopefully we'll catch up again soon. Hey, what's up, everyone? Joe here. One last thing before you head out. If you haven't already, make sure to go down there and give us a thumbs up. Click subscribe right next to that, and the notification bell icon if you'd like to be alerted when we put out future interview episodes like this, or episodes of our weekly roundup that we do. But that's it for this one. We'll see you all in the next one.